Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Well, today is National Cowboy Day, or to give it its correct title, National Day of the Cowboy. This is another one of these festivals organized by the American government. This one, just like Flight Attendant Day, was approved by George W. Bush when he was president. Now, we all know about cowboys, don't we? Because we've all seen the movies. Of course, we don't have cowboys in the UK, but we do use the word, and it's usually in a kind of derogatory way. For those of you, first of all, who don't know what a cowboy is, that's the guy in the American movie with the big hat and the shirt who walks into the saloon with the gun on his belt. And he's very confident. The way he walks is he swaggers, he swaggers around, moving his shoulders. Actually, my cat does that. My cat swaggers around the house. Oh, this is my jungle. This is my territory. So cowboys are a little bit like that. We all know them, especially from the movies. People like John Wayne, for example, the famous actor. Here in the UK, as I was saying, the word cowboy is very derogatory. It's not a nice word. It's used to describe a workman who has shoddy work. So, for example, I used to have a gardener who would come and do my garden here because I have a big garden at the front and I didn't want to do it myself, especially when I first moved in here because it needed a lot of work. And the guy that I employed to do it for me, he was a complete cowboy. Some days he arrived, other days he didn't. Some days he did a lot of work, some days he didn't. But he was a lovely person, but he clearly, to use some kind of English idiom, he was on the fiddle, that's for sure. On the fiddle means he was doing things which were not really honest. Like he always wanted to be paid in cash, and he never really kind of finished what he started. And then there were those days when he didn't turn up and didn't reply to my messages. So yeah, he was a complete cowboy, especially with the charges, more for cutting down a tree and other things that he was supposedly doing for me. Yeah, I think he was fiddling his taxes. To be on the fiddle or to fiddle simply, well, the real meaning, of course, is to use a musical instrument, the fiddle, but we use it to talk about someone who is not being very honest with money. To be a complete cowboy, as I just used a moment ago, is someone whose work is not suitable, So that's one thing. And to be on the fiddle is someone who's not honest with money. So I don't know whether the gardener was on the fiddle with his taxes, but insisting on cash all the time doesn't sound honest, does it? So he was on the fiddle, and he was a complete cowboy. Yeah, in fact, my landlord sent over a plumber recently to fix my gas boiler. Do you remember that one? Oh, he was a real cowboy plumber. His work was a little bit shoddy. I had to get someone back out to fix it, which was a little bit strange. So that's how we use the word cowboy. So not very positive, not very positive. But in American culture, everyone loves the cowboy. It's like an icon of the West. the western part of America, whatever that is. My geography of America is really bad. Uh, you know, here we often laugh about Americans not knowing where particular parts of Europe are. But I have to say, my geography of America isn't particularly good. I think I've only been to Boston. Beautiful place, beautiful place. But yes, cowboys. They have cowgirls as well. And I'm sure you've seen the movies with John Wayne and Clint Eastwood swaggering into a bar, before they fight. My mother loved John Wayne. In fact, she loved cowboy movies. I don't know why. I think, I don't know about this, but they were considered to be oozing with masculinity, which was very attractive for some women. I think in the old days, women liked strong men. I mean, I remember my mother, she said once when Saddam Hussein was on TV, it was during the Iraq War, she turned around and she told us, Saddam Hussein, a fine-looking man, isn't he? Very attractive. And we were all thinking, well, maybe that's where she got some of her ideas from, because at home she was running the house like a dictator. Anyway, moving on. So, John Wayne, he was one of the most famous cowboys. I remember him, and of course, you must remember Bonanza, that American TV show. Do you remember Bonanza? There was another one as well with the High Chaparral. It was very stereotypical. They had an old man. Was it Ben Cartwright, his name? Yeah, and the large Spanish actress Maria. She was the mother, I think, in one of them, and a young cowboy called Blue. Very interesting. There was always a kind of a hint of Latin culture with the cowboys, maybe because many of them, of course, are in Texas, which is close to the Mexico border, as far as I know. Or it might be because this whole idea of a cowboy comes from different ethnicities. It's not just an American invention of Americans herding up cows. They also have their rodeos, which in some ways resembles, they resemble bullfighting and other things that Spanish people do with bulls. In Spain, they love that. They have all these celebrations where they chase the bull down the street, then the bull chases them up the street, and then everyone chases the bull down the street again until it runs up into the church tower, and then they push it from the top. And then when it lands on the ground, it's dead. It's very odd, very bizarre. So a lot of the immigrants who ended up in America came from Spain. So there's elements of that you can see in these rodeos which cowboys have. Do you remember John Wayne as the cowboy? But you might remember him in that movie about Jesus. It was called The Greatest Story Ever Told, where he was the centurion, and he only had one line: "Truly, that was a son of God," while Jesus is on the cross dying. It's funny. It was interesting to see John Wayne in another role, which wasn't about cowboys. Did you know that John Wayne wore a wig from the 1940s? Isn't it strange? You just don't think about things like that, do you? Yeah, a wig is the false hair that some men wear. Another thing about him is he was very good at playing chess, and he was very fond of literature, especially Charles Dickens, Arthur Conan Doyle. You know, the man that wrote Sherlock Holmes. Strange, isn't it? I can't imagine John Wayne all dressed up as a cowboy reading Charles Dickens books. It's quite a contrast, isn't it? But oh yeah, yeah, he loved his English literature. His family were originally Scots Irish. You know, a lot of people who live in the west of Scotland, they have Irish heritage because, of course, the Irish just simply crossed over from the west coast of Scotland. Ireland is only, I think it's 15 miles. So, yeah, he had Scots Irish ancestry. His real name was Marion Morrison. He was very, very involved in Freemasonry, it seems. Isn't it strange what you can learn from Wikipedia? And yeah, he was a very heavy smoker, which I think contributed to his death. Very sad, isn't it? But yes, cowboys. If you like country and western music, they always portray cowboys, don't they? Now, it's interesting, country and western music is something which hasn't really escaped the English speaking world. So, if you are interested in music, you definitely should have a look at country and western music. It's all about life as a cowboy or being in love with a cowboy or something related to that kind of life. The music is usually very sad, revolved around drinking at the local saloon. Yeah, I enjoy country and western music actually, but by the end of the song, the person is usually left. There's a divorce, or there's some other disaster. So yeah, if you're interested in looking up a new type of music, and you don't know what country and western music is, you definitely should have a look around because you might enjoy that, especially if you like ballads and that kind of yarning. Of course, the queen of country music these days is probably Dolly Parton. Tammy Wynette has long since died. She was good, wasn't she? She was always singing about lost loves and these kind of things. And yeah, definitely listen to some country music. I think you'll like it, especially stuff from the 1990s. Country was peaking at the 1990s, and you'll find that there's all kinds of radio stations devoted to country music. Oh, I love country music. Yes, it says here on the official National Cowboy Day website, of course they would have one, wouldn't they? That to celebrate the day, you should attend a rodeo. Yeah, like there's a rodeo near where I live. Of course, they just assume everyone has a rodeo. Study cowboy culture. Well, I could watch a John Wayne movie, I suppose. Participate electronically. Do some cowboy themed web surfing. Really? It even has a hashtag, National Day of the Cowboy. Yeah, and it says here it's representative of American history. The Wild West is fun. It's about tough and committed people. Gee, they actually make it sound interesting, don't they? Oh, very interesting. Very interesting. Here's some cowboy phrases for the day. He's all hat and no cattle. Oh, we have something similar in British English. We often say he's all show. It just means his image looks good, but there's nothing else there, you know? My favorite phrase to describe someone like that is to say, Yeah, the lights are on, but nobody's home. It means that behind their eyes, there's really nothing there. Here's another one. Speak your mind, but ride a fast horse. Well, it's not the kind of thing we would say in British English. Um, Never drink unless you're alone or with someone. Well, that would that would work in British English. Um, Never approach a bull from the front, a horse from the rear, or a fool from any direction. Well, that's good advice, isn't it? Um, what's this? Oh, this is from an American movie. You all can go to hell. I'm going to Texas. Gee, it's funny, isn't it? Oh, this is a good one. This is typical American. A man isn't born a cowboy. He becomes one. Oh, yeah, of course. Well, I don't think I'll be using any of these phrases today, but I might go online though, just to see what they're actually doing on this day. And I haven't watched a Western movie for years. Um, well, they're not very exciting, are they? I mean, if I could find one about aliens and cowboys, maybe that might be an option. But anyway, whatever you do to celebrate National Cowboy Day, I wish you a wonderful day. And that's it from me. So remember, if you call someone a cowboy in the UK, you may be insulting them, especially if it's a tradesman or someone you're dealing with. So be very careful. Whereas in America, it seems to be a very respected kind of profession. There's a picture here of a man trying to tame a horse with a dog sitting by his side. So the dog is sitting there watching the man on the horse. Oh, it looks very muddy. Um, yeah, but I don't really appreciate them as much as some people might. But if you're a cowboy lover, enjoy your day. See you. Bye.